You guys love watching these videos. I love making them. So guess what? I'm back with a part 3 on 25 things that might be making your home look cheap. These are mistakes that people make. These are things that maybe we don't realize. Now again, I have to caveat this video because my last 2 videos on this same topic, people took my comments personally. I have not been to your house. I do not know what it looks like. Only you can decide if you like it. And if you like it, you keep it. Because I'm going to do this video and then we're not going to run out and replace some of the things that I've shared. That's not that kind of video. This is all in fun. I'm going to share things. I actually walked around my own home and picked out the things that I'm doing right now that I have that I think are making my home look cheap. We're just having a good time over here because who am I to tell you that your things look cheap, right? This is all my opinion and I'm literally nobody. I make videos on YouTube. So I have this first one. I've all but given up the fight against it. But the thing that's making your home look cheap, and I'll tell you why I think it's making your home look cheap, it is if you have stainless steel appliances with fingerprints on them. Now, if you have kids, I understand why you have fingerprints on them. You will never win. You will always be cleaning their fingerprints otherwise. So you're just going to have to live with it until they get older and stop putting their hands all over everything. But if you think about it and you walk around in your home and you've got these beautiful stainless steel appliances in your home and they take up a lot of your visual space in your kitchen, you see your fridge there and it's got this whole big space and then it's got fingerprints all over it. It's got junk all over it. It doesn't look expensive. If you are in the market for appliances, I'm going to just tell you what to do. I wish I had known this and I wish I had done it. Get these fingerprintless stainless steel. I have fingerprintless stainless steel on my dishwasher. You could touch that thing all day and you would never notice. My refrigerator, not fingerprintless. It always has fingerprints on it. My mom has the exact same fridge as I do, but hers is fingerprintless. And they're identical except for one small thing. Hers looks clean and expensive. Mine looks dirty and cheap. I like to clean my stainless steel with a mix of vinegar and water that will immediately cut through the fingerprints. But again, if you've got kids and they're always touching it, you're not going to want to do this 10 times a day. The next thing that I think looks cheap, and I was thinking about this as I was putting some flowers out and I was putting them into a vase that we have, and I think, this is just my thought, I think that those mass-produced clear glass vases that you get from the florist could be making your home look cheap. And you buy these nice flowers and then you're just putting them into this vase that everyone else has. And it's just made of this thin glass. There's nothing interesting about it. It just looks like everything else. I just think those could cheapen your beautiful flowers. So if you have an interesting vase, maybe it's got a little bit of a different shape, go ahead and use those. I do keep the ones that I have that are just the standard glass ones, but I actually reuse those for other purposes. I store sponges in one of them. You could get creative in how you want to use it, but for flowers, I think that the arrangement looks even nicer when it's in an interesting, unique vase. So in my part 2 of this video, I mentioned that dirty floors could be making your home look cheap, and I actually am going to do this one now because this is kind of an extension of your floor. Dirty baseboards. I came home from a trip this weekend and I hadn't been in my home for a week and I just noticed the state of my baseboards. So I just got a little cleaning cloth and I quickly dusted them, all is well, but it was really cheapening the look of my home. It was making our nice floors and walls just look not very nice and cheapening the space. So easy fix, dust your baseboards and you will instantly improve the look of your space. I got this one from YouTuber Kiva Brent. She goes by KB. If you haven't seen her videos, they're really good. And she said, I think she did a video on looking cheap, or maybe she just gave this as a general tip, but she said if you have curtains that go across on a rod, but the center of the rod is not supported, in which case your curtains are now making like a U shape. They're kind of bowing in the middle. And this is so true. I had this in college and I know exactly what she's talking about. So if you have curtains and they are on a wide window or you just have a wide curtain rod, make sure that you have a center support for that curtain rod so that you don't get that U shape. They don't look like they're falling down and they're sinking, and one day they will fall down. So just as a word of advice, I thought this was a good one. If you enjoy content like this, don't forget to click that subscribe button down below. It's free. I got this one from my daughter, and in fairness, she's a teenager, so this is why she has this in her room. But if you have this in your home, I don't think you should be doing it. I think it makes your space look cheap. But the thing is, the mistake that you could be making is putting photos on your wall and hanging them up with tape. I don't know if you do this. She does it. A lot of people do it. I used to do it. If you want to display your photos, just get some nice photo frames. Put them in there. They will look instantly nicer. They will not look cheap. I just think hanging photos or really anything with tape on your wall is just going to make it look like a dorm room. This next one I also have because I get blindness to these kinds of things. Let me know if you have the same issue. But what it is if you have towels, it could be bath towels, it could be kitchen towels, if they are frayed. And this happens when towels get older. And I've seen some of your comments and you guys say that you replace your towels every few years and that way this doesn't happen. I mean, I have towels that I've been using for more than a decade and they still look good. I also have towels that I've only been using for a couple of years and they're fraying and they're not looking as good. So there really isn't a hard and fast rule, I would say. So just pay attention to the state of your towels. If they happen to be getting frayed, you can always donate them to a pet shelter. You can turn them into cleaning cloths, but don't use them as your everyday towels. You deserve a nice towel. So I was looking at the lamps in my living room and I thought, okay, this is the perfect thing to put in the video because when I turn that lamp on, there is a tiny hole in the lampshade that the light is coming right through. And then I kind of looked around and there are several of them. These lampshades, they're not made to last forever and they break down, especially you could damage them if you're moving them a lot. So my recommendation and a mistake that you're making that could be making things look a little cheaper is if your lampshades are in poor condition, if they have holes, tears, rips, you know what I'm talking about, and it's peeking through, it just doesn't look as nice. The quick and easy fix, however, is you can either go to the thrift store. They have lots of lampshades there for very affordable prices. Or Target even. I've gotten Target lampshades for $5, $10, and it just makes the lamp look 100 times better. So this one may be a little bit controversial. Don't get mad about it. It's about plants, and I love plants. If you've watched my channel, you know that I love plants so much. But the thing that I think looks a little bit cheap, two things with plants actually. One of them is if you have plants that are dying or half dead. So if you've got plants that are turning brown and crunchy, those do not look expensive. So you don't want to have that. Those look cheap. The other thing that I think, and I've made this mistake as well, I'm hesitant to say it, but if you have lots of little plants, I think that could look cheap. I think it could look cheap for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you have a lot of things, it looks like clutter to your eye, right? It's visual clutter when you have lots of things, especially if they're lots of the same things. But the other reason why it looks cheap is it almost looks like you don't know where to look. You have all these tiny little plants and there isn't just a nice focal point of one big plant. So, and it looks a little budget. It is, because you know what? The smaller plants are cheaper and there's nothing wrong with budget. Actually, this video has nothing to do with how much money things cost. But I would say for the plants, instead of getting lots of little ones, just put your money together, pool it, and get a big plant, a statement plant. That looks so much nicer and so much better, in my humble opinion, than lots of little plants. I have this one in my master bathroom, and I did fix it in my guest bathroom, and I'll put in some footage so you can see what I'm talking about. It's if you have the builder grade mirror in your bathroom and complete with the little kind of crystal holder that those all came with. I just think these look very standard. I think that these are in every home. And what I'm going to suggest to you, it's such an easy fix if you want to instantly make your bathroom look better. Because when I did this, my bathroom looked shockingly better. I simply removed that mirror and I went to the thrift store. I got a mirror for $5 with a wooden frame and I put that in there. It really warmed up the bathroom and looked so much nicer. And it looks fantastic. And it was such a simple fix. It probably took me 10 minutes when all is said and done to change out that mirror. Now, the other thing you could do if you don't want to change out that mirror, they do have these adhesive frames that you can get on Amazon. I will link them, but just as a word of warning, they're not easy. I tried that. That was my first attempt, and it didn't look very good. Hence, I took the whole thing down and got a different mirror. But you could try it. Maybe you're a little bit handier than I am. Another thing that could be making your home look cheap, and I think this also kind of looks builder grade, and it's because this is what they do, but I think if you have all white walls in your home, and don't get me wrong, I love white. I think that it is a beautiful canvas for all of the colors that you may want to bring into your home. But I do think that when you've got stark, cold, white walls, it just feels like an institution to me. It doesn't feel like a home. It doesn't feel like very cozy, and it almost cheapens the space. But if you have this, that's okay, because you can fix it by bringing in color, bringing in some colorful curtains, some colorful pillows, maybe paint an accent wall, whatever you want to do to bring that color back and just give the space some life. These next few are kind of all inspired by a photo that I saw on Reddit. So I will put that photo up because the guy who posted it asked why their living room looked cheap. And people were kind of rude. I don't think that people needed to be rude about this, but I'm going to say some things that stuck out to me in this picture. And the really the one big thing that stuck out to me is the window. And there's nothing wrong with the window. It's a beautiful picture window. But did you see that it's overlooking cars and garbage cans? And I think that just brings down the space. But I think it's an easy fix. All he needs to do is add some curtains or any window treatment, really. If you don't have window treatments on your window, sometimes it could look cheap. If you have an amazing, beautiful view, I get it. That's not looking cheap. That's looking awesome. A lot of us don't, and I think curtains could help soften the view. They could help warm up the space. And I just think that overlooking the garbage can, it could just bring the space down. The other thing that I noticed in this home, and this is just a small thing, but he has this canvas painting, and you can see the sides of the painting are blank. And this is something, so I took a painting class one time just for fun, and we were painting, and I said to the teacher, I asked her about the sides of the canvas and should I just leave them white, and she said, no, you need to paint those because when you leave them white, it makes it look unfinished, and if it looks unfinished, to me, that looks cheap. So the painting that he's got there, great painting, it just needs the sides painted. He could put a frame on it or something like that, but if you've got unfinished artwork like that, it's not really doing your space any favors. So I have this one on my kitchen cabinets, and I need to fix it, but I haven't fixed it, and it's definitely making it look cheap. The thing here is if you have cabinet poles that are crooked, and this happens because you've got builders and people quickly working on your home, and sometimes these get crooked. You can fix them. You need to re-drill the hole. I need to get my husband to do this, but it doesn't look good. It looks a little bit cheap because it just is crooked and it throws the whole space off and it looks like somebody rushed through it. I also have this one, and this is also making your home look cheap, and I need to fix these broken doorknobs. In my house is really old, so we have those glass and brass doorknobs. They break all the time. I need to look for another solution and something that kind of goes with the overall old look of my home. But if you have broken doorknobs, I don't think it's looking good. I think that it looks cheap. Anything broken really isn't the best, but broken doorknobs especially are kind of scary. So we're getting new ones. We're fixing them finally, but that's my advice. So I have this one in many places all over my home, and I'm just going to share what it is. And it's funny because my dad's Ukrainian, and I guess there's this thing when there's a lot of homemade kind of DIY patch jobs done in your house. In Ukrainian, they say it was done by a shoemaker. Nothing against shoemakers. That is just the expression. But that's kind of what's going on in my house, and the thing that's making you look cheap, and I'm going to show some images from around my home. It's if you have a lot of electrical outlets on your walls kind of bunched together. Wait until you see what's going on in my bathroom. It's terrible. I have this in the back of my house. I have a ton of these in my kitchen. But you know what? It's a simple fix, and I figured this out a few years ago. In the back of my house, I put a clock on top of those outlets so you can't see them. In my kitchen, I leaned a painting against one of those outlets. Again, you don't have to look at it. My bathroom, I'm not quite sure because it's up top and can't really put a painting up there. But you can cover these. If you've got lots of electrical outlets, just cover them up. The next thing that could be looking a little cheap is if you have your pictures hung too high. And I'm not going to go give you a formula and tell you do this and all of that. It's just very simple. I have a very simple way of looking at this. All I do is if it is a wall and it is a blank wall, I hang the picture at eye level. Whatever eye level is, to me, to you, however tall you are, just do your eyes and do it. Not a big deal. If the wall has something against it or on it, like a table or a couch, a dresser, I simply put the painting a few inches above that thing. It's going to feel low to you, but you know what? Once you do it and you step back and you look at it, it's going to look awesome. So if you've got a dresser and you want to put a painting behind it, don't put it at eye level. Put it just a few inches above the top of the dresser. You could even lean it against the dresser. I do that all the time. But anything other than hanging it up high. While we're talking about artwork and paintings, another thing that I think making your home look cheap, and this is also a mistake, is if your paintings are crooked. And I'll tell you, this happens if you hang your painting with one nail or hook in the middle. You cannot do that. You need to hang it on both sides, or you need to have the wire that you can hang it, because that's the only way to prevent it from getting crooked. Otherwise, I don't know, gravity, whatever it is, your painting's going to get crooked after a day or two if you've only got it in that center support. I also have this one and I don't really know how to fix it. If you have ideas, let me know. It's very annoying. The thing that I think is making your home look cheap is if you have carpet that bunches up. And I have this in my living room and I cannot stand it. I think it's from the kids kind of pushing the ottoman and pushing the couch and jumping on the couch, and it just pushes the carpet. I even have a carpet pad underneath and it's not helping. I need to figure out what's going on. But it doesn't look the best. It does not look the best. If you can figure out how to fix this one, let me know. Burned out light bulbs. Just replace these. I'm not saying if it's burned out in a random place and you don't use the light. I'm saying if you have pendant lights and one of them is burned out, replace the bulb. Because if you've got them and there are 3 lights and only 2 of them are working, definitely looks cheap. If you've got a chandelier, a couple of them are burned out, definitely looks cheap. Just replace them. Cluttered coffee tables and side tables, these also look cheap, especially depending what they're cluttered with. If you've got trash on them or something like that, just clear them off. I actually got rid of my coffee table for just that reason. Now we have a fabric ottoman that you cannot put anything on. While we're talking about tables, I also think side tables that are too tall could look cheap. There's a rule for these, and I'll actually insert it because I can't remember the rule, but if it's too high and you're having to reach up to put your drink down or reach really low to put your drink onto, it's not the right height. You need to change it and make it something that's a little bit more functional, but it also doesn't look as nice and it could be making your home look cheap. So this next one is interesting, and it's about if you have a small room. And basically, when people have small rooms, they think that they need lots of small furniture. And I'm here to tell you that could be looking cheap. Instead of doing a small room with lots of small furniture, which is again going to look like clutter to your eye, just get a bigger piece. As long as it fits in the proportions of the room, then you're good. It doesn't have to be tiny furniture because you have a tiny room. And I also was watching a video yesterday. I wish I could remember who said this, but she was also saying a lot of people put tiny pieces of artwork in tiny spaces. And she said, just go all out. Get a big piece of artwork. I think it was Linda Holt Designs, if I'm not mistaken. I'll link her, but that's what she said. And it makes so much sense because when you've got a small space, the default is you want to put small stuff in it, but instead do a larger piece and it's just going to look a lot nicer. This one might make some of you mad and I'm sorry. I think there's a time and a place for this, but I don't think just as an everyday chair is the place for it. It's folding chairs. I understand their necessity and okay, sometimes we have people over, we have a bigger group around and we need a folding chair. I don't think that you should use them as your regular seating, unless, of course, it's your only option because you don't have the space. But if you're using them and you have a table and you have enough room for a chair and chairs around the table, just get yourself some chairs. And I don't mean new chairs. You do not have to go run out and get new chairs. I got this really cute wood chair from Goodwill and it was $8. You can get a chair for $8. It's fantastic. So this next one I didn't realize was so controversial, but I've been hearing it a lot on YouTube and I realized I have this and people say it looks cheap. So I'm just going to tell you what they're saying looks cheap is if your TV is hung too high, and specifically if your TV is above your fireplace. Well, guess what? My TV is hung above my fireplace and arguably it is hung too high. On the flip side, I don't really have anywhere else I can put it. So I'm going to just be living with this cheap looking placement of my TV. But what they say with your TV, if you can, put it at eye level. That is the thing that looks the nicest. That is the thing that's going to make your living room a bit more elevated. If I could go back and redo my living room, maybe I would do that. Although I do like the idea of having one focal point in my living room, which in this case, it's the fireplace with the TV above it. And that's what that is. But again, doesn't look expensive and I'm just gonna live with it. Water rings on your wood. I hate these. Get yourself some coasters. And if it's too late and you've got these already and you don't know what to do with them, I think they just ruin the whole vibe and the whole look of the table. And it makes me mad when I see this. Get yourself some wood stain. I have some. I can link the one. It actually works really well and it's super simple. It takes like 5 seconds to use. It's not at all complicated, but if you can't get rid of it and you're stuck with it, try to put something on top of it, a coffee table book, a vase, whatever you can. But please get yourself some coasters. Okay, guys, that was a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the part 3. I have 2 other parts. I actually will link them both here if you want to keep watching on things that could be making your home look cheap. But again, don't go running to the comments and tell me how terrible I am. It's all in fun. I just walked around my home, looked for things that I thought were looking a little cheap, wanted to share them. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.